Alright, what is going on? What's happening? How's everybody doing today? My name is Chuck and welcome back to a brand new video. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be jumping into my top 5 best loadouts for you guys to use here after the huge update. You guys know the update changed a fair few things, and so I've had some time to kind of go in here and actually be able to experiment with some different stuff and be able to tell you guys, what is really solid to use here and also what is definitely not. And even before we get into that, I'm not going to lie, I think the Warzone meta is in a fantastic spot. So there's a lot of viable weapons, so it's almost kind of hard for me to pick my top 5, but these are going to be like my go-to weapons that I always use. Before any farther though, make sure you guys drop a like in the next 5 seconds for some good luck and subscribe. We're on the road to 800,000 subscribers, so make sure you guys subscribe with notifications turned on. With that being said, let's actually hop into this. And real quick, I'd like to mention, if you guys would like to get some glasses to be able to protect your eyes, some blue light glasses, they help prevent eye strain, your headaches, they help you sleep better at night because the blue light's not getting to you. Make sure you guys go over to gameradvantage.com. It's gonna be the top link in the description below, and go to use code Chuck at checkout for 10% off. Okay, so the first gun we're gonna be getting into here is gonna be the Bullfrog. So let's actually jump into this. These are gonna be my attachments on the Bullfrog. The first thing is gonna be the sound suppressor, and the reason we're using the sound suppressor as opposed to the GRU suppressor is because this thing actually got a massive buff here within the most recent patch. You guys know that the GRU is basically, or like the GRU of the agency on the Cold War guns was like the undeniable best thing to use in the muzzle category, but what they did is they made the sound suppressor very good now, where it does give you sound suppression, aim down sight speed, bullet velocity, and sprint to fire speed. Of course, it does negatively affect your damage range, but it's realistically not going to be all that much, and that's why I'd say the sound suppressor is a close range sort of thing to use, and you're going to want to stay away from using it on like ARs and stuff like that. So that's why we're going to be using it here on the Bullfrog, as this is going to be incredibly good for our build. Next up in the barrel section, we use the 7.4 task force for that effective damage range, bullet velocity, and strafe speed. Definitely the best barrel you guys could possibly use here on the Bullfrog. I'd highly recommend it, to be honest with you guys. I don't really use anything else. Next up, we're actually going to go to the laser section, and we're going to be using the Ember sighting point, and this is going to give us effective damage range and hipfire accuracy. It says that, obviously the flashlight is visible to enemies. It negatively affects your ADS speed, your sprint to fire time. It's realistically not going to do all that much. And we also added that sound suppressor onto the end of the gun, which is going to really help us out. If you guys feel like this has too many sort of like cons, you can run the KGB target designator. So you guys can run, the KGB or the Ember sighting point, and either or it's going to be good. I mean, I've ran both. I've ran this even more recently before the update, and I thought this is amazing. So it's definitely still going to be good afterwards, because you only lose about like a 10% sort of effective damage range. So, I mean, this definitely should help you out. Next up in the underbarrel section, in the spirit of keeping this thing very agile and mobile, we're going to be using the red cell foregrip. If you feel like this thing has too much recoil, though, because we have the sound suppressor on and not the GRU suppressor, which would help with our vertical recoil, what you guys are going to go ahead and do is throw on the Spetsnaz grip, and that is going to be perfectly good. It's going to help with your vertical and horizontal recoil. So run either the red cell or the Spetsnaz. It's just kind of up to you guys what you feel like is going to be better. I would definitely say to switch between the two and see what works for you. Obviously, every single class setup is going to be a personal preference type of thing, but these are my setups and what I actually love to use in Warzone. So we're just going to keep the red cell on there for now, and then for our last attachment, we're going to go for the stock category, and it's going to be the no stock attachment for that sprint to fire time. It's basically going to give us a negative on our hipfire accuracy, but that's like, okay, we actually boosted our hipfire accuracy with the laser category, so we're perfectly fine. This is a banger of a Bullfrog build. Hopefully you guys do enjoy this one. I really like this one. I feel really agile and effective at close range when using it, even more so now with that sound suppressor as opposed to the GRU. I'm really happy with this build. Next up is going to be the CR56 AMAX. So these are going to be my attachments here. First thing is first, the mono suppressor, sound suppression, and damage range. Of course, this is going to be the best thing for you guys to run in the muzzle category. There's kind of really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The mono is just going to be the best, since they haven't really touched the lightweight or the tactical suppressor here in, for the modern warfare weapons like they did, for the sound suppressor, for the Cold War stuff. The mono just kind of reigns supreme, and you guys should always be using that. Next up in the barrel section is going to be the XRK Zodiac S440 for damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. This is going to be the best barrel by far to run on the CR56. There's no reason you guys should be running the Squall or the Intruder unless for whatever reason you're trying to make this into an SMG, in which case I really wouldn't recommend that anyways, just because there's so many better SMGs out there, and also there's just so many other better close range options than to make the AMAX into an SMG. So I would just go ahead and run the Zodiac barrel and call it a day. Next up down below, we're going to run the underbarrel section with the Commando foregrip. This is that recoil stabilization and aiming stability. I love this thing. You're not going to have much recoil at all when you have the Commando on there. If you feel like you got too much recoil, maybe slap on something like the Ranger foregrip and you could basically be good with that. But you will have a slower aim down sights time, so it's not necessarily the best. So I just recommend to go with the Commando foregrip. Now in the ammunition, we're going to run that 45 round magazine for that magazine ammo capacity. This is going to be the most rounds you can possibly get in this thing. I mean, you unfortunately can't get 50 or 60 rounds. I'm a 60 round magazine kind of guy, so that'd be normally what I go for, but we can't really do that with this. And then for the last thing on here, that's going to be the VLK 3x OPTIC. I really love running the VLK on this gun. I think it is fantastic. Though, if you do want to switch this out, you could definitely run something like the Corp Combat Holo Sight, as I was doing that when I was playing with the CR56 on Rebirth in my previous, PPSH video. This is my primary gun, and I was running the Corp Combat Holo instead of the VLK because I didn't feel like it needed it. But for regular Verdansk, I feel like the VLK is going to be far superior, and I really like it. So this is a banger of a build here on the CR56. Absolute tank of a weapon here in Season 3, even after the update. Even after the nerf, it's still really good. Now let's jump into the Ram 7. This is an amazing gun right here. So these are my attachments. First things first, mono suppressor, sound suppression, damage range. We talked about this here for my previous gun, the CR56. We're always going to be running this. Next up in the barrel section, we're going to be running the FSS Ranger barrel for that damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. This is by far the best barrel on the Ram 7. If you're trying to make this into a primary AR, I genuinely really like using this as a gun. I think this is amazing, and this is definitely the best barrel to use on this thing. Unless you're trying to make it more into like a hybrid, sniper support, SMG, then maybe you want to go with the Forge Stack Eclipse at that point. But for an AR, you're gonna want to run the Ranger barrel. Now in the underbarrel section, we're running the Commando foregrip for that recoil stabilization, of course, and aiming stability. Fantastic attachment choice. You don't really need to go anything crazy like the Merc foregrip or the Ranger. Like I said with the previous build, you guys could definitely use the Ranger if you want to get more recoil control, because the Ram does have a decent bit of recoil, but if you can manage to control it, this thing will beam unbelievably quick, and it's amazing. And then also for the ammunition, running that 50 round magazine. This is unfortunately the only attachment we have for the ammunition. So you basically either run this or you don't run anything at all. And so you just kind of have to run it. There's no reason you guys should ever run a stock magazine on this thing. And I don't even care if you're running solos, like, don't ever run a stock magazine on the Ram 7. It's just not realistic. Like, just don't do it. And then to finish this whole thing off, much like the CR56, you were using the VLK 3x OPTIC. Or, like I said, you can definitely swap it out for the Corp Combat Holo Sight. Basically, either or is going to work. You guys can have great success with either of them. So definitely go ahead and give this a shot. Absolutely love this gun. Definitely one of my favorite guns ever since it got introduced into the game. And I'm super happy that it's making its way into one of the top meta slots for Warzone. Okay, so now we're gonna jump into the MP5, the Cold War MP5. So let's hop into this thing here. For the muzzle, we have the sound suppressor. For this, gives us that sound suppression, aim down sight speed, bullet velocity, and sprint to fire speed. Of course, we lose a little bit of effective damage range, so it's not really too bad. We're actually going to skip over the barrel section, go straight to the underbarrel, and we're running the field agent grip on this. We can't run any of the other grips that are going to give us more mobility because this already has a decent bit of recoil, so we want to make this thing as much of a laser beam as possible, and I feel like the field agent grip is incredibly good for this, so you guys should just definitely run this. It's not like it's a Modern Warfare MP5. This thing has a decent bit more recoil, so I'd always suggest to run the field agent on this thing. If you do happen to have it unlocked, that is, I mean, obviously always run it. Then for the ammunition, we're going to be running the Stanag 50 round drum. This is going to give us the most amount of ammo capacity without chalking our aim down sight speed, which is a huge thing. I'd always suggest to run this instead of a Salva 50 round fast mag. We really don't want to mess with our aim down sight speed too much. Even though we are boosting it, we don't want to kind of like, go ahead and throw on a fast mag to kind of ruin that. So just run the regular 50 round drum and call it a day. Next up in the laser section, we are going to be running the SOF target designator for effective damage range and hipfire accuracy. This is kind of like my Bullfrog build. I think this is really solid. I'm not actually running a barrel on this gun, so this is kind of what I replaced the barrel section with. Also impartial because this specific variant has incredible iron sights. They're different than the stock MP5 iron sights, and I genuinely really like that, so that's kind of why I swapped out a barrel. And we're running the target designator. And then to finish off this whole build, we're running the collapse stock for that sprint to fire time. And this thing has no cons, so you really just can't get much better than that. I mean, on the Bullfrog, it gives you negative hipfire accuracy, and it has like no cons, so you just really can't get much better than that. I think this is amazing. I would run the no stock. I mean, I've definitely tried it out before, but for whatever reason, the collapse stock just happens to work incredibly well. And I do actually like having my hipfire accuracy with the MP5. I just feel like I want to hipfire a little bit more with this thing. So the collapse stock works great. This is a banger of a build. As you guys could probably see, even by this gun moving around here, you guys can see the iron sights, the end of the gun right there, are a little bit different as opposed to the stock stock ones, so that's why we are not running a barrel. We're making use of those as they are incredibly clean. Last but definitely not least, we are to be using the Krig 6. This is a banger of a build right here. So let's hop into this. The agency suppressor is giving me my first attachment: sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, and effective damage range. You always, like I said, want to use the agency on your ARs, and you probably want to stay, the regular suppressor over to like your SMGs or your sound suppressor, whatever it is. You always just basically, if you want to have a ranged weapon, to use the agency or the GRU, whatever it actually is on that gun in specific, always happen to use that one. So we're going to use that for this gun here. For the barrel section, we're going to be using the 19.7 Ranger for that increased bullet velocity. At one point, I did try the takedown barrel for effective damage range, but I was talking with a lot of my buddies and they were saying to use the Ranger barrel. So I just went ahead and used that, and I felt like the Krig 6 was definitely hitting harder while using the Ranger barrel. So that's kind of why I've been using it ever since. I wish that this had like a task force style barrel where you get like a lot of benefits and stuff, or maybe some increased effective damage range, all that stuff, like 3 benefits or 3 pros, but it doesn't seem to have that. So we just kind of have to roll with the Ranger barrel here. Next up in the underbarrel section, we have the field agent grip for that horizontal and vertical recoil control. I mean, we're trying to make this thing an absolute laser beam. We're trying to control that visual recoil as much as possible, and we're going to be doing that even with a sight here. So just throw in the field agent grip and call it a day. And then for the ammunition, we're in the Stenag 60-round magazine, a standard 60-round magazine, not a fast mag, because we're not trying to chalk our aim on sight speed. So just always run this. There's no reason for you guys to run anything else, anything different, anything less. I mean, if you're playing solos, maybe run like the 45-round mag and you'd probably be good with that. But if you're playing anything like duos, trios, and quads, running the 60-round magazine is going to be like your go-to move. And then for the last thing on here, we're actually running the SUSAT multi-zoom, or the SUSAT, whatever you guys want to call it. Some people were saying I was mispronouncing it. I don't really care. Basically, we're running the SUSAT multi-zoom for that 2 and 4 times magnification. This in the 2 times state will make it look like it has literally no recoil at all, and it's absolutely incredible. And also that 4 times magnification can come in pretty handy, and you'll still be able to beam people with it here in Warzone. I love this build, guys. Definitely go give it a shot. It's definitely a top tier AR to use. Love using the Krig 6, banger of a gun, and it's definitely got a lot better since the updates here in season 3. Well, that's all I got for you guys here today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, give it a like, subscribe if you are brand new, turn on those post notifications. Make sure you guys comment down in the comment section below, and just remember, don't triple cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.